Hello, everybody. This is Empty Turtle. I've got Dr. David Jubb with me. This is Jubb Talk, and we are going to talk about the new reset. The new reset, is that it?
Wow. I reckon that's a good idea. I think we should talk about a new reset for sure.
Yeah. Now, are we talking a new reset after the election? That was kind of one-sided.
Yeah.
Or are we talking about something coming up?
Oh, no, we're talking about something coming up. It's like a strange attractor. There's like 4 types of strange attractor, but we won't talk about that in math just at the moment. But
strange what?
Yeah, it's assemblage point that's in a future moment that something has occurred.
An assemblage point?
Yeah, is a charge. And so like in math, you've got something which then has a charge, you see, and if there's a charge, there's only one law in nature, and that's that it's discharged.
Whoa, okay.
That's the only law.
So if something's charged, it eventually gets discharged.
Yeah, it has to be.
Right.
But if it's not, then something criminal could have been going on. That's the new reset, see.
Okay. So are we talking gloom or happiness?
Oh, well, what I read in, the year 4026, a bit about that, but I did talk a little, and I was surprised that it was done like there's a path of least resistance.
Really?
Yeah.
And is this something brought up upon an entity like a government or a corporation?
No. It actually just is the living connecting with the living.
So nature brings it?
Well, in logic, they only could join the living with the living, and that was contractual back then too.
Okay.
Only it was not being followed per se, you see, because there was a monopolisation back then that got cleared away, basically. But you could see that all charges become discharged. That's the new reset, isn't it? I mean, it's all when debt, wouldn't you agree, MT, that gets zeroed out.
I'd like mine zeroed out.
Yeah, but when you're an accountant, which you know a bit about, you've got debits and credits, and as you know, they're supposed to be zeroed out on either side, so you've got a balanced ledger, right?
Right. Never trust an accountant that can't do math.
Yeah, but and then also to anybody would present an idea, you're so focused on what the receivables about the idea is and this sort of thing, and what is working capital versus what's just a capital asset, which isn't going to get anything coming from it. I mean, I think those are great principles of free enterprise and that sort of thing. But if everybody's to be compensated because, like you were saying before with the program, that as a COVID Holocaust survivor, through the time here, compensation is, of course, because you could see that really whatever the charge is that's been like trespass or even aggravated burglary, like you were pointing out, because somebody had as an intention to occupy your bridge boundaries, and to do that intentionally to possess your property. And so that's called burglary, and it's aggravated burglary if it sort of sneak up on you and you don't even know that's gone on and things. But currencies of account, which really is, after this sort of thing, is which is turned into currency of exchange, you see, and it's put into circulation, which really could be absorbed by people's product and service. So there's no inflation or deflation.
Okay.
Yeah, it's really like quite simple, that part. We the people fund things, needed, and you're sitting where you are or whatever, and you're voting just as anybody would, and you vote, you have the opportunity to be able to vote for a project like, reforestation or social welfare or, infrastructure and things like that, which is spent, you see, and then it's equal to people's product and service, you see. So at the end of the day, what you did was to only fund things which was asset back. That's pretty good. At the end of the day, you had that asset and that was achieved, and what was the work, and nobody really was alienated from the work, you see, in states of enemy and things. But you're really getting a true ID is what happened, you see, because you're from the land.
Okay. All right. So this reset is happening when? 2026?
You could say that there are 4 types of strange attractor, because where something is a charge, there's 4 types of strange attractor which are going on.
Okay.
Like in dimension each. And those are things. But it's if that was interesting to talk about a bit. But basically, it means that. Could you imagine that something is like in stages of something done?
Well, hold on. I mean, you said something about dimension. Let me ask you real quick. Can a dimension not of our own affect our dimension?
When you say our dimension...
Yeah. The world we are in.
Okay, so, the world you're in is 3-dimensional, yes?
Okay, all right.
And you can't be in another dimension beyond the 3-dimension, though you're multi-dimensional.
What?
So all things are multidimensional. So, for instance, there is no such thing as something positive which is not negative. You see? So we think in terms of polarization, but that doesn't exist at all. In fact,
are you saying every action has a reaction?
Well, the opposite of black is not white. It's no black. The opposite of white is no white. You see, these are not opposites of each other which don't exist. Black does not exist. It's sort of like dark blue does and red does, but like black doesn't exist. So if you were an Eskimo and you really didn't have any words for colour, right? Mm-hmm. But you had a very great intelligence, incredible. You had at least 200 words that described white.
Well, you're in snow, right?
Anyway, I mean, word usage and things like that, I think that word smithing and things that's gone on a bit, it doesn't satisfy a smart contract. And so things had to satisfy a smart contract because you really wanted something that was just like a vending machine. It's just nothing between you and the customer. And it had to be able to perform what it did, and it had to function like cash, you see. And so first it is like you're talking about something like water, which all of us should own, right?
Yeah.
Somebody couldn't own that. That would be wrong. Well, that's what happened before this new reset, you see. We owned that, but trickery had happened, and somebody needed to actually learn a little bit as to how that occurred. But, you could just say, like, first you're omnipresent and this is I, and this is your unbounded shoreless self behind the back of your eyes. And matter is, something temporary in relation to this I, which is permanent. It's absolute. And there is a permanent and absoluteness, and that's a 4th-dimensional conditioning that you have, which is a morphogenic field which is set, and things are dialed down to that level. And, matter doesn't just sort of drop off after hydrogen. It's a bit ridiculous. Do you know what I mean? Hydrogen is made up out of magneton. But you've got to get back to sort of what really is your intended response, and a new reset, we should be these are things which is all fitting.
We do need a reset because language has been so turned around, manipulated, and there's a bunch of BS rules out there that we don't even know or understand or comprehend that are being utilized against us, and we have no way to fight that. And so we do need a reset in a way that let's just start again from the basics and grow from there, because we are way beyond the basics.
Well,
the term, we are getting screwed.
Yeah. So nativity is the English word that describes the moment that you came from the land and from your mum.
Wow.
You know.
So the moment we were birthed is a nativity?
Well, no. You see, these things are not the same, right?
Oh, I see what's happening.
Birthing means that you've taken on the orifice in some gubernated process.
All right. I took on the orifice. I'm birthing.
Well,
So
you
that's
only
not-
took
so I
on the
used wrong
orifice.
word. Nativity.
Well, it would
is
be when you had
when
a
we
ship
were
and a
born.
vessel and you had to come to the bank. And some dock, you meant whore, needed to be there.
Or like, maybe it's more like...
Someone licensed that was dock, you meant whore there,
I think
at
it's
the
probably
bench.
more
But,
like catfish.
it was like a bank.
Noodle fishing. Noodle catfishing.
There are 4 different types of strange attractor, which kind of, you can imagine like when as it is and this happened itself. But the claim really is only happened as a result of its being expressed, of course, and this is sort of really like Article 3 and Article 4 court and things, which is over the top of contract, you see. So man is over the top of contract, that's first, you see. And you've got a fixed type of strange attractor, which really just sort of spirals out and sort of connected to what it is, and creates its own shape back into itself again, a small part of itself, and so that's one type of strange attractor. As far as time, and that's what's strange in the math of it, because that's one type of strange attractor. That's sort of like a spiraling in or spiraling out, basically. Okay, but a limited cycle would be where something is coming in for a moment, and then something comes out, and then something goes back in again, and something comes back out again. And this is a type of
Rubber band?
math that when you're thinking about a strange attractor, that could go on, yeah. So when you stretch a rubber band, right, what happens?
It snaps
becomes
back.
cooler. And when you let it go, what happens? It becomes hot again. So,
Wait a minute.
You've got various
So
things
it's
that go
opposite.
on, right, and you're just talking about limited cycle. So when you're stretching something out as a strange attractor, what could you say? A temperature is going to be reduced as you've stretched it out. But as it snaps back together again, what happens in your own brain? Of course, pressurizedness is, and temperature is too, you see. So, most people, they don't really understand temperature proper, like it could be defined, and that's something which could be defined more. But that's another story. Look, in math, you've also got sort of like a periodic type of strange attractor. Yeah, these are things which are Toltec, and the Toltec teach you what a strange attractor is, especially if you're a medicine person, you're learning about what this is, because it's really the assemblage point of discharge having occurred, and how did that happen, sort of thing. So then you've also got really like an adjacent quanta. You've got something which got made, and as that got made, it is coming back out through a rabbit hole and undone. And it's like let's see, shrinking. Yeah, shrinking a problem, basically.
Shrinking is a problem.
Well, that's more an adjacent quanta, and it's like as if you've got a figure 8 going on, kind of in a shape.
Unless you're super obese, then shrinking is good.
Okay, but look, if you thought about it, of course, you've got quite a few things going on, don't you? Because
Always.
You've got, usury, which of course is the root of evil.
Is it really?
In our program,
Because I use a lot.
And you've got the criminal conversion of title, because like what we just said was you don't have a birth. Birth is like a shipping moment that you're taking on board the franchise of an orifice, basically. You see,
There's a few out there.
well, that's an act of a regestation of your own self, and somebody did that as is the state of the state of the state. But somebody owns that, you see, and that privately is owned, you see. So that's a man, a woman, and everything else below them is some trust or something.
Which would be children, right?
Well, you wouldn't want to be inside someone's trust. That's not right. You're in your own trust, you see.
Unless that trust belonged to Elon Musk.
No, we're
Jeff
talking about
Bezos.
actually. No, you see, that's a good example. But where private lone rangers, like someone who owns the USPS or something that's like that, and they privately corporatize something. I mean, you've got first a criminal conversion of title going on, because I just said that it's a truth that you have a nativity, but you'd be committing perjury to say that you have a birth date because you're not a witness to that. So straight away, you've perjured yourself. I'm sorry.
So if I tell you...
No, you cannot be a witness to your birth.
So
and
if
you
I
just
tell
said,
you...
You just said you were. Well, I mean, do you know what you're saying? No.
So if I celebrate my birthday, and that being witness to a birth?
You've called it that, haven't you? And it's commercial.
It was
right?
given to me. I didn't make that.
No, I know, but it's commercial words. It's like somebody calls a toaster by the name of the first company that brings it out or something. And
I would never do that.
No, but that's what goes on.
I say toaster.
But the nativity was the moment that you were.
But a drink like
born from the land. It's called nativity in English. It's not called birth. But in Black's Law Dictionary, you can have a look at it too. I mean, we're just defining what the words are. That's all.
The Bible?
No, well, you have a nativity, and you could say you have that. Why? Well, because others were witness to what this is. You see, and you could say that, you could admit that, but birth, no, you couldn't. Why? Because first, that's a commercial term, like I said. You're weighed and document hoard and the length and what have you, and a trust is made with a bit of money behind it, but it's sort of just made as to be a worth, because we know that you're going to be worth a hell of a lot more than that.
Oh, you too.
And then when you get a social security number and things like that, you see, then where's all the money that's actually owns the debt? It's actually really the social services, social security, really, that owns that, where things are. But look, there's a criminal conversion of title, and what we've been talking a bit about, like in the past, is how, and all caps doesn't recognise your appellation at all, because your appellation as a man that's living is in a lower case, you see. Yeah. And a real true name would be, like for me, it would be Jubb David. That's a real true name, because it's just one word. It's not two words. So you can't be a pronoun. That can't be your name, you see. So it's sort of licentious that some sort of criminal activity's all gone on, and under a JC Quanta, things have to add up as a smart contract, and you have to have like a real true noun, and you have to have a verb, which is in a smart contract, because you want to just like have cash, which that's kind of what the new reset happens, you see. Yeah.
What's the most powerful verb? Is?
Ooh. Is. Yeah, so is missing.
But it's not it.
Well, no, I just said is missing in all the documents. And I just said also too, let me see, there's not a real true noun in there, mate.
What?
Yeah, that's right. So, these documents aren't like the four corners of the document accurate whatsoever. No.
Sounds like we're getting bamboozled.
But a kill box is sort of how a lot of things done, isn't it? Yeah, you have to see that well and truly, because some right was taken away, and then body parts, all sorts of things. But pre-authorized, pre-ordered is authority that you and I, or anyone does have under the Magna Carta, you see. And this is where you and I sit above the Legislative Assembly of any state, you see, where you are. And I mean, otherwise, you've got a treason really that's going on against we the people, basically, because what I just said, which you've been put to be of a commercial term like person, which is an artificial office. It's like a utility company, which you cannot and could not be by your name. And so you're the only one who really is the holder of your name, well and truly. Nobody else can hold that. That's
can I
your
sell stock?
Proper cup of tea, you see. In a future moment, you could do the things which you'd enjoy because it's a free enterprise. But it just is that, an arm is equivalent to $26, and that sort of is of an intrinsic value, meaning it's equivalent to a JC quantum of work done in a time kept. And so it's based in cesium because that keeps time. It's like noble element. It's based in gallium to keep weight, and iridium to keep length. And these are the things which are three basic measurements, basically, in physics and things which need to be. But, it's got, the new reset is getting rid of beast barrack. That's one thing, because like a man really cares about children and he cares about women, and he cares about everyone, whereas beast barrack doesn't,
What do they care about?
Well, there's a lot of blamey stuff. Let's see, misogynists, a lot.
The left talks it says it's a problem.
Well, that's a problem, and there's so many. Where would you start? Because like a lot of that isn't right. Because
that's where they started.
Yeah, well, under a monopoly, you don't need a conspiracy at all. But the roles of procedure, which shouldn't ever deprive anybody, you see. And so these are things which New Reset is ever more about, because what's done, which has been done more under the colour of law where people are, you see. I mean, it's a killbox relative that you've got something which is just like, they're going to take your body because you didn't sign off on the bid bond and get that paid up. That's all you needed to do. And so that they took your body instead. And that's kind of trickery. Do you know what I mean? That's not right at all.
That's wrong place at the wrong time clause. You know what I mean?
I think that there's a lot more going on because people are being drafted to even argue on all sorts of things, which how could they, you see?
Yeah.
But
why
then,
am I going to go fight your war?
I think a pen is mightier than the sword, and that, as you're pointing out. So we all agree that something that's logical and a rational continuum is really what should be, and grovelling is the worst. And if you can't hear anything that relates to, seeking agreement, I mean, with your adversary, this is the most spiritual thing that you can do, and it's the number one thing. Because why? Well, because this is your spontaneous creative intelligence, and if you were acting in another way, it's like, how come that is? Because it's definitely not natural, you see, yeah?
Yeah.
Right, it's sort of beast barrack, it's sort of thing. What would beast barrack be? Beast barrack. When you're in the barracks, it's sort of you're conditioned to be a beast. What does that mean, you think?
Have no idea. I would say a killer.
Well, but it's sort of interesting because isn't it called an infant tree? So, and also sold.
Infantry.
Well, somebody sold. Yeah. But you sort of become the proper cup of tea to someone else.
That's right.
But so you've got to have accepted certain things.
If I start a war, are they going to help me or are they going to back me up?
Well, they might be the ones who actually are involved, you see, and that's what the problem is, you see, yeah?
I'm just saying, if I start my own war, is the military going to back me up?
You wouldn't be backed up, no, because no, you wouldn't be, because you've made statements that you're at war with the corpse and all sorts of things, and you don't have peace in yourself. So you could be classed as a belligerent for sure, because you're not caring about the Commonwealth whatsoever, and you're not also, using the pen to help correct things, which you should. I mean, it's really quite bad. Matter of fact, you've got little Kims running everywhere in people's brain, and that, would you call that beast barrack?
Yes.
But would beast barrack be only one side wins and the other?
Yes.
Yes. But we have not that in nature whatsoever, you see, because Darwinism, the survival of the fittest, is absolute bull dust. It's really a nature is thoroughly a mutual lived assistance, and that's absolute. There's no question, because we were talking about
total
cell actually being like Mexico City. Actually.
That's a T-shirt, bull dust.
But the roles of procedure, where we were talking about, would you think that actually there is transparency?
There is never transparency.
Well, there should be, but in a New Reset.
Sure, they should be.
Well, these ideas I've got from every smart American. I'm telling you, these are the things I just calculate. But everyone who's really smart, they've told me that, damn, they really care about transparency, and they're fed up with it. It's not. You see, they're just dumbfounded how wrong it is. But we could get to how much the debt is, because is it over 30 trillion? I'm not sure.
Oh my God, it's probably, I'm sure.
But anyway, look.
Yes, it is.
To be free, isn't it that you've got to have liberty? That's a better cup of tea.
No, you need to pay off your debts.
Yeah, but then,
and then have a little money set aside.
Yeah, but you see, isn't liberty means you're equal to others before the court. If you're not, how bad is that?
pretty bad.
No, yeah, because you're just saying a debtor or a credat whore, like you said. Yeah, how could you be that? You're not. No, you're a man, you see. You're not under some commercial contract. That's a problem because, the military-industrial complex, that was not anything that you selected. And I don't know. I never met
like
anybody who said they selected that.
Something contract.
Well, this is just done because that's a service that's being provided to you and I. And this is the problem because, like,
without
it's not
our consent
customer-based.
Or vote
well, it's not customer-based. When you hand over a $100 bill or whatever, it could have gone over 100 million times or whatever, trans hand and things. And it never cost anybody a dime for the transaction, but every single transaction that somebody did that, if they had $100 and they had to pay for a transaction, all of a sudden it's only worth $80. Why? Well, because $20 was used in the transaction. And so what you're doing is like, and every time that you do that, what is this? This is called negative inductance. You see, this was a really wrong thing, and we didn't ever want to care to do too much for that. And we're bothered that people could take our money like with a card when they were introduced.
I just figured out. I know what the reset is. I know what it is.
Yeah, what's that?
Okay. Trump won. Now he's getting Vivek and Elon to run a new government office called the what is it? Oh, the Department of Government Efficiency. Yes. But here's the deal. That is really a reset because they're going to free that government agency alone is going to free Americans in the right way where they're not so burdened
I
with
see, but so what we've just said about nativity would never do that. Okay, that's another thing. And that the president of the corporation, who really acts in a fictional manner,
which is Trump now.
Well, but look, these people are under oath, and everybody is doing what they can. But we're not going to say that people's lives are not in danger to actually be controlled where that is. But look, this is like another thing. It's sort of like what I'm talking about is more something decentralized, and this is what comes to be. But
that would be great.
But you've got people who actually let's just say that it doesn't equal what this is. But you could say that it is
because it's been happening since before you were born.
Okay.
And long gone after.
All right. So you don't think that a charge like I've just said actually exists?
It won't, not in our time.
Okay. Well, why don't you think it would?
Because we're so embedded into this system that has been developed for us.
And do you think that is how 42-year-olds think?
I don't know anymore.
No, it's not. No, that's like a Generation X.
I see.
And a boomer.
Oh, they still have hope.
No, boomers are frozen in time, like you said. They can't accept little things simple, like they are the source, not someone far away. And that you don't need that when you've got a smart contract. What you just like to do is let's get many parties, third parties in there, like Lone Rangers, like you point out, who already got military contracts and those are things, and and collecting military tax. And so, like you're a peacekeeper. You don't want tax to be collected for a war. And did you ever think that you said that? No, you didn't. So what we first said just then was like, first, there is no such thing as a contract. And now you'd have to show me the contract, which you can't, okay? So that's going to be not right. It just is, there is something going on where you're talking just now, and this is really your discretion or anyone's discretion, but you've got limitations on your discretion just as anybody does, and those limitations happen to be, matter of fact, on the due diligence you did on having an equity interest for us, we the people, in what you did in a natural right we have upheld. And so, like, if it doesn't satisfy that, it doesn't, which it doesn't, okay? So, things have to add up, and if you don't have ears in a contract like I just said, what did you just say? Just like every single contract that's been written without ears is not in a JC Quantum whatsoever. Really needs to be fixed up. Well, I just said that if you're only into fiction, and I said you're held as a fiction, that's going to be not right. A priest said he danced is not a man. That's right. You don clothes for the day, and if you don those clothes for the day, big deal. But you're a man, and let's be real, okay? Let's not continue to go along where something is where you don't have any right per se, or you don't have a voice, and you're just running along where that is. And you see, on the left side of a court where he's been tried, nobody has a voice. That's right. And the Crown is the one running the show, like I said, and guess what? That's the decor of the country, isn't it? Because there's no contract, but that's a contract, isn't it? Because it's decor, isn't it? So for the world and everybody, they can see the Crown is running the nation, isn't it? Anywhere, right? And so those things are really not so quite right, because guess what? It's we the people that actually really is, and I could tell you that we haven't, okay, that's right. And what's that? Done this, which is, like I said, a strange attractor. So you're not going to tell me that that doesn't actually be something that would come to be discharged, because we went into the year 4026 and I just shared with you how it did. It did actually happen because it happened because we the people did that. You can't have a parliament do that. The swans don't need a parliament. You know, kangaroos don't either. They don't need a CNAT or anything like this. There is no such thing as a third party having to jump in there like, you know, Abel Gate, like the Pope is your boss and that's the only person that actually is equivalent to God, and all you are in any document is a contract, because you and I, we only have 7 plus or minus 2 chunks of information.
You know, it's funny, the things that you
at
mentioned
one period of time
we supposedly
in our
have
wakeful
contract,
state
was forced on us.
No, you see, smart contract deals with this because it's just a smart contract. You've got to be able to define what a smart contract is, because you're like a vending machine, and this arm functions as cash does, you see. There is no cost for that. It actually is taken care of as part of everything because you own the bank. So, like, if I gave you ability to set up right now a proper system, don't tell me that a man can't do that and you're below it just with fiction, you see. No, you and I, we all have a choice. And absolutely we do, and no one will go along with you where anything is under something which doesn't at work, and also misguided to think that something was a past at work when it didn't. It's like, please, let's have a new future and let's start and let's have positive induction. And I think actually if we do this, it's sort of like something which is all to do with a new reset. A new reset is you're sitting there and you voted for currency and that's it. You see, and you voted for an idea because somebody had a mission statement. You see, they had a mission statement. They only could get funded if they had a mission statement. You see, that's it. You don't get funded if you don't have a mission statement. No, why? Well, because it's not on the Magna Carta.
You know where else we're going to see a reset? In the media. People know you're lying to us. Start telling us the truth, all right?
Well,
leave the opinions out. Just give us the facts and move on.
I mean, I think we could barely need to start somewhere, don't we? But like Nurses Association, as you point out, or where people really are, you know, suffering a lot. You know, but a monopoly is a monopoly outright. That's it, you see. And there's no reason for that. That's really wrong. And every single thing that is a monopoly, it's like, that's just wrong outright. And like, nothing can be proper underneath that, as you know, because you could really look at freedom and liberty, and liberty really is your ability to be equal to anyone else. And so if somebody owns a corpse and that's privately owned, and that one bloke and a few blokes and people own the whole kit and caboodle, right? That's just personally just outright wrong itself. Wrong outright. And don't you think that is the very thing which gets reset? You see, what gets reset is none of that, like I said. The reset is you and I being a man again and not, you know, some other name. A woman is our species, and then, you know, and that all right flows from this title. But if I converted it, that's the crime. You see, the crime is the conversion of title. And like we started the program, we just said, well, birth, you know, we just said that you're committing, you know, perjury upon yourself, because it's not possible that you're a witness to know your own birth. But you see, the very thing that's going on, I wouldn't want to put people to be wordsmithed out. No, you should have time to reflect, as anyone does. And, you know, these are words actually that are kind of like learning. So, you know, it actually isn't telling anybody what to do whatsoever, but it's actually just describing the content of what this is. But one thing would be that I wouldn't want anybody to make statements that they are an enemy to the corpse, which is not my style whatsoever, and I don't think that's properly literal. What's literal is that I have peace where things are, and only as a mendicant I must function more this way. But I could see that you go to bat, you know, just really go to bat. And I think that's the most amazing thing. Our soldiers, by the way, I would think are more like you, because they are actually our artistes, MT. Actually, and also they're mavericks.
Soldiers are the best.
And then the very few that actually help create change, you see, and that's all that's needed. not anything else. You see, it's proper, actually. You see,
Yeah.
But,
I think, I would love, and I'm, trust me, folks, I'm a liberal guy. I really don't care who wins in politics. As long as I get more money, that's all that matters. Anyways. However, our soldiers, it would be nice that you couldn't be in politics unless you went through military for at least a year or two. But since a certain person won, I would like to see him, that's going to be our president, I would like to see him change the name of New York City to Trump City, and then I'd like to see him change the name of LA to Trump Town. And I think it would be a great thing for his presidency, because in the future, they're going to say, thank you, Donald Trump, from freeing us from this machine that has been lying to us every chance they get. We need the truth. We demand it. How's that for a reset? Boom!
Well, one thing is, first, none of us would agree with someone that might not be actually the victims of something, and their right to be able to name things themselves. But first of all, we could understand that where a white man is, he could have a mentality far more, right, first of not negotiating, that's one thing, where other coloured men and others don't have that. They're really good at negotiating, but we just only would think about actually the style of how doing things. So also to white men, they don't have, consensus building, which is proper decision making. So they don't make good leaders because of it. It's an interesting thing. It's really bad, matter of fact, but it's not because, it's our colour or anything, or somebody's colour. It really is.
Latin leaders?
No, I think actually that our
I'll be a leader.
Our worldview, like you're pointing out, colours someone's idea. But then the rest of the world really, first of all, can't stand speech which is other than actually about what's consensus building, decision making, you see, and actually engages all of us, we're the people, not a person, which kind of, if you grew up with cartoons, all sorts of things like this, most of us really only could think of somebody as being a headmaster, maybe. But prudence is really, and somebody's there, like you point out, and their commitment to us and care under oath to us, and not for us to be a fiction and to get a proper true ID and things like you're pointing out, as messages that somebody who cares quite a bit. And so, you've got degrees of care for sure where things are, but if we signed our name somewhere and you signed it all rights reserved, it means to another that you've got to have someone living there, and you can't be just a fiction. And you could just put it on the envelope and put it next to the date stamp, and it's as if it's next day delivery. It means that. It means no matter what, even in a time long past. Because why? Because you just said, please don't be under corpus delicti, meaning somebody has to be living behind the claim itself, and they must be someone that I can know yes or no. But also too, where somebody is, they could be in their own suit. And why not be in your own suit versus somebody else's suit, where some things are, you see. So there's a lot of things which are going on where is it that you're able to be aware that there's only the left side of the court that's being used, and would you be upset about that where Trump is, or anyone, basically. But if somebody's living who's got a real true name and they have a claim, we don't want to put that into a commie plaint because it's just a fiction and we left you to be a fiction, but the body of the claim is in the body of it, but we're not going to look at that because we just only looked at their heading, trust me. But lots of things are only just listed, and it's supposed to be a taxonomy that the heading should be about what that is. And kind of when things like that are going on, it's kind of really not right, basically, really, you see? So, but if a lot of money is going on behind the scene and you didn't know that, and that most of the money is actually really just from fractional reserve banking from prisoners and court bonds and things that was taking place, and fractionally reserved, making such a fortune that it was stolen from you and we the people. I mean, where did you get that from, and how could a president do something about that? They can't. First, you just said that the federal government is somebody that can help us, and that's not so. Why? Because we the people is where the power is in the currency. The currency is in the state. So first of all, like, didn't you know that every single federal government around the world is bankrupt? Yes, it is. Also, too, what else? Well, the state government is too. Yes, what else? Corporations are. Okay, so what's that? It means everything fictional is bankrupt, and the only thing which is not, which is solvent, is you and I. We own the debt as we sit here, and anything that was a debt is an asset to us because it's got to be paid back. And if it was spent, it could be paid back to us. This is republicing the debt. This is revenuing the debt. You're not going to tell me that Nicholas, who's a nice man, or Ralph or Pasquale or Jill or Diane or Judy are going to do this. No, they can't, you see. They can if they fit with 26 of us, and we all did it because we're selected, but not elected, because an elected condition is only a fiction, and they can give an opinion, but they don't have any force too much behind what that is. Only if you're a son of a purr, and you've agreed to be the son of a purr.
I got an opinion for you. Here's an opinion. They're talking about, deporting a bunch of people that didn't get in here legal and everything. And some have called them illegals. But you know who the real illegals are? They're the politicians. And I wonder if we can deport them first, right? And then we take the illegals that come here and they work really hard. We can put them in positions where the politicians are. And I guarantee you they'll do a better job. And in 4 years, they'll get rid of all our debt or whatever it is, right? And everything will be ran more efficient and better. That's because our politicians are the real ones that are the illegals in this country.
Okay. Well, one thing we would say that, let's see, first, of course, the people who come here, they really need to be looked after, like you said, because they make the money, a massive amount of money instantly. They get an account and stuff, and then also too, the corpse makes a lot of money anyway, because when they're dead, they're getting about $10 million insurance for every person that dies.
Damn.
So a lot of money is made somebody, but that money is not really made you and I, but let's see, hold on. But let's see. So the corpse is interested in doing what they can to actually have a certain number of people on the books, because if your corpse is dropped of its number, then you're not going to have holders that are living. And if we get rid of them by war, we won't need to actually owe you anything because you're not around for us and we just took it over. We assumed. Now, these things are kind of really wrong personally, because that's just like under fiction and usury. So you've got to stop thinking about usury. You've got to think about actual what's going on behind the scene. So each person that came across the border, that's a man or a woman, as a child or anyone, and they don't have any right for anyone as a poly-fucking ticker, excuse me, to call them a migrant, as an ant, or any nature whatsoever. That's a man, as a woman, or a child. That's it. And let's say also too, as a man, we're going to care for him just as much as we do a little girl. All right? Yes, they're the same. Sorry about that. But now, where the corpse is making a hell of a lot of money behind the scene of all of this, you see, and we as a nation, but let's stop that for a second, because these people came from somewhere, and I'm not interested in someone reckon the babies came from cabbage patches and somebody's gone on to talk about something, but crime is committed, where these people have been shifted. My God, that's really wrong. Now, I don't think that anyone I ever listened to or looked at and sensed and sat, where I've gone into all these camps around the world, I've sat and I've been various places, If you've been to Aleppo and you've been to all these places, you can absolutely feel what's gone on and you could maybe know more about it. But a mendicant, like you're saying, which is really good, wants to help people who've fallen on both sides of the fence. So it's not a winner or loser. It would be wrong. It's a politica. And also a body politic is straight up an enemy of the Republic for sure, because that's somebody who's voted, and they voted immediately. You're registered as a combatant to the Republic. So, like, did you want to do things like that? I'm not sure, you see. But the thing is that if no care, which I could hear, is for where you came from as a migrant, as an ant, I don't think you're a migrant first. That's what somebody called you. You're a man, you're a woman, you're a child, you're someone, like it's an adult or a child, but you're a woman or a man, and in my mind, outright, and you've got the right, as everyone else does here, and no one's going to take your right away anywhere where you are. And if they did, I'm going to help you get back to where you are, where your country is, where your family is, and be able to have no border and be able to be borderless. Because this new reset is borderlessness. Why? Because it's smart contract. You don't need to have all this crazy stuff, which is just giving service. Don't tell me that most people are not like a wife that's gone to the mechanics to actually get a job done.
Well, guess what? Your experience is unique. We have to have borders. That's important. We're not a country without borders, and that's the truth. Now, if you were the one that designed everything for everybody, and that it would be that beautiful utopia.
Okay, so you're not. However, you don't have a vending machine that's going to function as cash, right? You don't have a vending machine.
Born in this situation.
But when you go across the border,
I'm living in this situation.
But I went across borders where I could be free, and I was able to be okay. And I don't feel right about the way you think about a border.
Well, that's fine.
No, because actually you reckon... No, hold on.
Because
no. This is a complex equivalent. Sorry, no. Because what you don't think a smart contract is a border, is that right?
Look.
No, I'm asking you. No, a smart contract.
I didn't design this, but we're born in this design. We're born in this situation.
Don't tell me that you don't have a nation, which you do, and you can have a right to make sure that you make sure things set up.
What about a right to live in a country that's crime, that doesn't have a lot of crime?
You need to have order.
What about that?
I'm talking about order. You don't have order when you're talking about something where you can't go across a border.
Guess what?
Okay?
We agree on order.
No, you must be able to go
across a border. That's why we have a border.
But if it's lawful in your way you do things, that's very good, isn't it?
That's why we have a border to help create order.
No, but I'm not saying that you have a government when you're not thinking you're the government. I'm not agreeing with you.
That's fine.
Because you're only thinking in terms that government's over there. I've just said government's here where you are, and that's the real government. And I just said that smart contract can deal where everything is, like everything.
Well, that's why you're here to.
And I just said that actually that things can function as cash. And then you don't tell me that a smart contract is not the best boundary. That's the best boundary from anybody encroaching against your rights.
These contracts that nobody knows about.
No. Smart contract is almost like the words we're using right now with each other. These are the words we're using with each other. It's smart or not. You see what I mean? Things are smart that people say to each other, or it's not smart at all because it's not. It's too many confounding variables sort of thing where something is. But as you were saying, commensurable terms where people are first, it's true. So somebody doesn't want to be misguided, but they could be polarized around a word. But that's kind of maybe not even the right word to use, sort of thing. You see,
border. Guess what?
No.
If you have a border,
what's love? What's love? Now I'm going to ask you, what's love?
What is love? It is those chemicals you talked about.
Yeah, but it's no border.
No, love. Okay, love doesn't have borders. Okay, great. That's not a part of the physical world.
Yes, it is.
And the physical world.
You've got to be really good at joining with dichotomy.
Physical world.
No, intelligence is joining dichotomy. Right? Trust me.
And
that's called love. Okay. So where you've got dichotomy, you have to have the capacity to be able to seek agreement and be really good at seeking agreement. But if you've got a set of rules which you didn't make, and we're below it like everybody, you know what I mean? And that most people are not too good at getting agreement, and so that they're in a situation they've cast into what's not agreement, and they've got no skill to seek agreement. This is called the Abilene paradox. You see,
I'm going because it's what I witnessed.
But we
and I witnessed
could
the world
have a
with
system, which I'm just sharing
borders.
with you, that absolutely
witnessed
doesn't
the
have
world
any of this
without
language at all, you
Don't
see.
like it.
Because peace is in accord. Where peace is in accord, you don't have these things like yours said going on
Well,
whatsoever.
and I agree.
you
Hey,
see.
peace is important.
No,
Peace
I'm just saying a peace
is
accord.
the route we should take. But guess what? You're not being peaceful if you are creating a crime. If you're committing a crime, are you being peaceful?
Let's just drop it
Right.
and just start with a trespass, right?
Sure. There you go.
Because trespass is
Still
the
a crime.
first. Okay, that's a crime, and that happened to everybody. So get over it and heal it up, good. Because otherwise, that's bad. That means a real true name. And now, is the border going to be anything to you? No, because like you said, you have to be lawful where things are. Period. That's it. And so all people are. But
Okay, we'll try
when
to
we
tell
don't
them
have
that
those sort of things, we need to
to
fix
the
it
whole
up. You see,
world.
that's all.
And you think you're going to get everybody to do that?
Yes.
No, you're not.
Yes, you are.
People aren't going to do
Okay,
that.
when did the last time this happened? Tell me in history. You studied it.
What?
A republic.
I don't know.
Well, no, I can tell you it did.
Well,
No,
tell
you
me.
must know. When was the most successful
Why would I
civilization?
care about that?
Yeah, because.
Period.
But what's
What
the
I
most
care about
successful
is now.
civilization?
What I care about is now.
Yeah, but you
and
must.
our civilization.
Yeah, but you see,
Sure, we can learn from.
Can we
history.
say that you've investigated systems of social, leadership?
I don't have to investigate anything. I could see.
Yeah, but you see,
what
well, that's why only some
happening
few could
as
do this,
opposed
not
to what has
everybody.
happened.
But artists can help create the change. That's one thing. Mavericks can help also. And then a few people, just a few, really. Margaret Mead said, it's only up to a few brave, cared people that change ever has occurred in the earth. That's right. And the longest republic that's been is a republic that's been the South and the North Creek. And they did have a republic for 600 years. They were the ones who gave this idea, which is really ancient. You can go back and look and see that we did have a republic in the past before Caesar came along in Rome with a strongman slaver, which, this is not a good name per se, not at all, because it's really about ruthlessness overall. But in the Embarrass River, there are people who've been buried there, you see. And
You know
right
what?
there, there's a lot of things we could discover about the past, you see. And if we did, then that's a reset sort of thing. We become more reset, basically.
And you know what? And here's something also. What I haven't heard is, I just forgot. Anyways, we're going to take a break.
Consideration.
We'll be back before you even know it. And, all right. All right, folks, we're back. And I just wanted to say, I remember what I was going to be saying that needs to be said. Guess what? There would not be millions of people that are going to be deported. That would not happen if they would have been in here legally to begin with. And then, guess what? We wouldn't have all the crime that's happening from it. Also, guess what? It wouldn't have been an issue with the election, and it might have went the other way. But you know what? Treat us like idiots, and we're going to vote in the right direction. Remember that. Anyways, Dr. David Jubb. With this new reset, this is going to be a good thing, or is it going to be more of the machine in our face?
It might not get rid of polarization, because that's sort of something where someone is, where they are everyone, in fact, isn't it? Mm-hmm. And this, like what we're talking about, is something which, like, I'm sharing with you bits and pieces of this, because if you were interested, let's see, you'd start already to know that a resource which is living is worth more than gold, okay, to the nation. That's one thing. Second, court and prison bonds really made the international bank and things like that, so people were borrowing money from that. Kind of those things kind of not quite right, but also too, of course, we're kind of like looking at everything through negative inducted conditioning, and somebody would have to be free of that relative, because it's sort of like someone has to prove a point, well, like it's a religion, let's say. So, for instance, in math, we just would talk about something and be free of having to defend the religion. But if the question was to do with what an arc does, which is involuted, which is inward, means that's all an inward arc. That's what involution means. So you can make a butterfly with this, but you can't make a butterfly with an evoluted, form of that. But something is going on which underneath everything, like I said, is that first, if man isn't in the document, well, everything that's gone on isn't proper, like you said, and has to be put. And until it is, smart contract is what protects us, because you don't have any middle people having to do something or in your life, like you were saying. The other thing is the reset is where Russia, China, and all these nations are all our neighbours and care, and everyone is caring for each other. So that's what a republic is around the earth. It is where positive inducted currency is, and so no one is bribed anymore, or like you said, or they have to be suffered in some way. And so it's about giving versus taking, or like confiscation per se. But the issues that relate to someone's life can't be politicized, like you said, of course, because they have family, mum and dad and children where they are, which I care very much about. And I do see that smart contract can clear things up quite beautiful, and where it is, a lot of trouble is disappeared. But that currency itself should be positively inducted, and it is to those that are bankers in a criminal banking cartel of a one world order, more or less, which has gone on. And that's something which is not, it's just not, it actually is something else, which, and reset is actually coming from being able to visit things, everything, in a neutral frame, because, of course, that's kind of where everybody is more, and we can agree where you vet anything like we're doing with our show, which is really great, because the view that you have, I would say, people have, certain, and
the majority
and
has.
And so we would agree that mob rules doesn't exist, and that's not right. So it's not necessary that because a lampshade was made out of human skin and everybody traded with it would be right per se because mob ruled. Ethic is something that exists actually overall, but where anyone is, you can hear it's a sort of sum of something where we are, each of us, sort of thing. And the skill that would be, that this is first sort of like having a neutral ground. That's one thing. So the shoulders are relaxed, the tummy's sort of relaxed. The other thing would be then all the polarized things where someone is just only called by names, but suddenly we lose sight that these people have family, they care about a lot, and none of them want to be put to be in any circumstance wrong, where ancestors and people came, and everybody's in the same boat. And so it's sort of like only somebody who could give advice in this ocean would be someone in a short boat, like you're saying. If somebody's own boat was sinking, they're not going to be able to give too much advice to others. They all are sinking. But somebody's on a shored up boat, they can sail their vessel hands free, so they've got both hands to be able to actually help an able sailor in the ocean. But in life, things are like that. But the mendicant is a word which we use a lot. That's a buzzword we have, because it's sort of somebody who really is focused on helping and can see that both people are falling on both sides of a fence where something is. And polarization, where language is, as you were pointing out, but I'd say that most people kind of have a view about that for sure, doesn't necessarily help where anything is, because rapport is the major thing that really counts. And so, for instance, like where somebody saw that fraud existed, I'd be cared to so much help them where fraud did exist, that we as a people can see something has existed where someone has put forward something. And my heart goes out to anybody who really is, able to be participated in protected disclosure and conduct. And it's called protected because it actually is that, it takes gumption for someone to put the truth out where something is. But the truth is really this process which is mutually beneficial, and that we would agree for sure. And how we hear wordedness and things that's like that need to be taken care of, and where it is, it's like, oh well, we've grown our values closer together where a union exists in our interrelatedness, and this is the ultimate, which always is anyway. So first, of course, like our program has talked about a little, and that is the pen is mightier than the sword. Second, that something is really the path of least resistance, and bits and pieces of this all is really amazing, because most, like I would say, this view is really from educated Americans and people around the world, but like educated Americans who I've got this view from, I'm repeating just simple that this is sort of what most people care for and want, and that like the administrative councils you're meeting as a minister, and a ministerial visitation is you're sitting there and you own the debt as well as the credit, and any debt that was taken from you is a credit that you have because it's to be paid back. And so this is sort of general accounting principles, and always have been. You've got to manage debit and credit. So the real zeroing out of debt is the discharging of the debt, you see, and looking and visiting at what's not regular, and fixing up the things which can fix it up. But like you said, it shouldn't be a hiccup for anybody. It should be something that we do, which it is, and your life just gets better, actually. And each little thing that we do, life gets better, basically, you see. Yeah. Yes? And this is something which we go into the future, we see sort of something that happened, and it engaged these things, especially the consensus building sort of decision making, versus any other sort of decision making, because we're sort of very happy with things where everybody had a say where something is. So it's sort of laissez-faire to some degree, because you've got smart contract where you could sit. You don't need a parliament or a Senate between you or anything. What you did, and we the people was voted for various things which get done, and we owned all that got done, and we bought that from people and got free enterprise and stuff going, quite incredible, matter of fact, and we took care of everyone, because it was far less money to give everybody to be ownership of the bank than it was for someone privately to own the bank and take away yours and my right to do such thing, which those are the things which has gone on, which we need to actually correct. I think like 1913, it was really bad on December 23rd. There wasn't a quorum. March 9th, 1933, there really wasn't a quorum. These are open sourceable crimes, which is to do with what's called a soaring horse.
Being sneaky.
Well, yeah. Soaring
Government's
horse.
Being sneaky. When they passed the IRS, whatever, back in whenever, they were being sneaky, all right? And they do that all the time. Let's get some truth and transparency in our government. That's why they were voted out. We got tired of the lies and the divisiveness that these politicians are doing to us. The media is dividing us.
Yes, but one thing is most Americans feel that way you feel.
And if anybody tries to make you divide you or be divisive, but ask them why are they trying to do that.
But, well, we could say that...
Everybody needs to start questioning the media.
Yeah, but you see, I don't know. This will never be resolved where dissidence existing in the players. You see? That's what we said. So the dissidence is only, I've woken up and I don't want to know. And it's like, oh, well, okay, that's one sort of way somebody feels better. Another way they feel better is to look at wrong. Okay, that's another form of dissidence, because the people feel better when they do that. Another one is blame me, but that is also too a feel better, but both of those, all three are dissidents, and they're not in a new mindset whatsoever, because a frontal cortex is something where there's no, muscles that are flexors, but only a sense of emptiness and floating as a tensor wave, which is in a balanced state. And so as in a balanced state, sort of something exists and we could look at anything, in fact, and actually everybody does. But when we only could have some view to point, like it is, you could hear, those are things which are maybe not relevant, but the relevance is some way, of course, because these are all part of life where something is, and something is a fractal which if you come back to something, it will come back to this, and it can come out to make everything else. And so something is of an essence for sure. Our essence for you and I personally, I feel, is our self-autonomy, like you were saying, also to our ability to have our individuality relative as a nation and things which that's good we would and do, but we can't if somebody's just painting everything with a brown paintbrush, let's say, and everything the same colour. That's kind of not quite right. In the past, where civilizations existed, like a republic did for 600 years, like the Creek, which still exists today. Second, the civilizations of the Golden Age didn't have any defensive structures whatsoever, or nothing. And it's interesting that their mindset was not too negative to make a positive in this sort of thing going on, which they never examined, you see. So if I said it's great to be hygienic, someone could say the same thing, and they could say, oh, I don't want to be unhygienic. And it's kind of like the first one is really whole brain patterning, and the second one is really limited mind function. If the two of us were in a hot tub somewhere, and ours was to stay in the hot tub because we wanted to, somebody was getting out, and they just said, are you coming out now? Like, okay, well, maybe we want to stay in the tub, but we could answer and say yes, and we're going to come out in a little moment. So now that's a congruent response. Somebody could say, no, we're staying in the tub, and this is a polarized response. So where our language is itself, a new covenant comes to be where things are more positively inducted. In fact, that language has to add up. Like we were saying, and a smart contract only can have is in it, and it can only have a real true noun and things like that, because otherwise it's not definable, you see. And so where appellation is used, which it has to be, English is perfect. You just don't have to actually, it's really a treatise that's come about from a long while. Nobody could mess with that too much. But if you do like your own all caps and things that's like that, it's kind of a little bit not right, because we never gave permission for anybody to do that. Second, nobody gave permission to anybody just to make Washington DC your home by giving you a zip that made you into the franchise of that, so that you aren't a man anymore, and sell the General Post, which we did have, and sell it to a private company, and that's somebody that's in Scotland who owns that, and that's privately owned and things, and then for that person to just take away your ability to be a living man as having a postal location, and to make sure that you can't, the private company is in alignment with the monopoly, and they want to make sure that they've monopolized things, and they've only taken you to be a corporate citizen because that's your address, which means property of the bank. And if you said, what's your birthday, and you never ever considered, that's not right, because this is about your actual some bond that's the commercial, and this has got nothing to do with your birth, which is nativity. That's the word we use in English. We don't use the word birth. Birth means to birth a ship, and these are things which slowly have come to be. Like I could say, American English isn't really quite the same as what Oxford and Cambridge are, where there's a big difference in the way that even words are pronounced, especially vowels. So when we lose articulation, for instance, where vowels are used, it really is a disaster, because double O ends up being you, which it isn't. And you are always been this way, but if suddenly it comes to be ooh, it's sort of, you've lost a lot of pronunciation, and people cannot quite understand certain things. But why would you want to do that? But if you only taught people to go up the scale, they'll always only ever have had stress. But if they were taught to go down the scale, which is natural, they only ever will have, tension release in the way they discharge energy. And unbeknown to the person, that's just something that's gone on because they got charged and they learned the scale, and it went A, B, C, D, E, F, G, instead of A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So the latter one is really like energy coming into you, and that's natural. And everyone natural will just do that, actually. But it's a strange thing when you come to a society and all they do is ever heard is this up the scale, and all the music they ever have is up the scale, and all the music that they ever listen to is 4 beats squared out. And these things cause somebody not to really be able to think at all. But we're programmed inside naturally, and only when we can hear things that's like this, we really can gravitate to what's really excellent. And that's, I think, what makes ourselves as a nation great, because it's truly incredible that these things which you're pointing out are issues which we all have, where some assimilation need to be and integration is, as you said. War on us is like all these race cards and all kinds of stuff that goes on that's not natural, actual. I mean, these things are fraught really bad, like you said, and these things need to be where control is. And we're going to just say that asymmetric warfare is being fought on Americans and most other nations as well. And some nations in the crosshairs ever more, and they are much more slated to lose population, like kind of like what the bankers' statistics were that's been kept and stuff. So, not every nation sort of loses its population as much as some, and so this is kind of really not natural, none of it. And so we need to be able to straighten that out, and we can, because we can have international relations and common law, common law is good. That's what all these other stuff is supposed to be based upon. But let's get rid of the codes and all sorts of bullshit because you don't need to have it. Why? Because you don't middle people anymore. You see, it's only we the people that's become customer based, and we're no longer got languages about you and somebody else out there like Peter giving us a service, because we can give ourselves a service, and Peter doesn't need to be giving us a service anymore, because Peter's on the other side of the mountain. How the hell does Peter know what the Spanish might like to call a place which a lot of victims were, and they don't want to have the name of something which is kind of really not right, because people got really they lost their lives in some place, or their well-being and things, and the people that they maybe they should have a right to perhaps to call something that from this, except that the victors maybe don't necessarily have a right. But personally, there's sort of a reconciliation somewhat, and this is part of this new reset.
And we need it. And you know what? America is not perfect. The United States is not a perfect nation, and we can be a better nation.
No, but I think
and
the
we
change
can be a
comes
better
from
nation
here.
through unity, not division. And it'll be nice to have a government that's
from the
perpetrating
land and have the venue
unity
from
and
the
not
land.
division.
And
so it'll be nice if we do have a government that is trying to unite the American people and not divide them. People are tired of division.
Yeah, that's right, man.
And
fed up with
like I
actually
said,
people
we can
not
be a
seeking
better
agreement.
nation through unity. And if any media or corporation
And so
out there
if you
trying to divide
raise a
us,
child that's
ask
healthy,
them why.
we're going to have a healthy village.
Take us out.
If you raise
Dr.
a
Joe,
village,
please.
so you raise a child and you have a healthy village. You have a healthy village. Yeah, you can see where that's going.
Yeah, Hillary's book, It Takes a Village.
You have a healthy nation, okay, and you have a nation of we the people, and you have consensus-built decision-making and smart contract. These are the things that we can move toward, which it is anyway, because people want to have their currency function as cash, and it's supposed to have an intrinsic value, plus it has value in perpetuity, because nobody wants to be invested in any currency that it's not value going to be held. And so these are things which is an agreement, simple, and that's like a non-fungible portion of a token which we have, which is the arm. And these are things which is what goes on where the new reset is. Anyway, we're going to have a time to get into some of these things and other stuff, but it's been great, really incredible program today, mate.
It's fantastic. And let me tell you something. Truth is what? Mutually beneficial. And if somebody's telling you the truth and it's not mutually beneficial, well, then ask why. Take us out, Dr. Joe.